Actually, it's interesting. Sounds rather sort of bizarre, but I did go to Diana's coffin the day after I'd written it.
Stop scrolling. What you're about to hear will shatter everything you thought you knew about Princess Diana's funeral. For 27 years, we've seen the images. Two young boys walking behind their mother's coffin. The world called them brave. But here's what nobody told you. They never wanted to do it. And the one man who tried to stop it? Their uncle, Charles Spencer. But here's the twist. He was lied to. And when he finally discovered the truth, it was already too late. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why Prince Harry walked away from the royal family. And trust me, it all connects back to this one devastating day. Before we dive in, let me ask you something. Would you make your 12-year-old son walk behind his mother's coffin while 2.5 billion people watched? That's exactly what happened to Prince Harry. And the person who could have stopped it was told a lie so calculated, so deliberate, that when he learned the truth years later, it broke him all over again. This isn't just about a funeral. This is about power, control, and two boys who became pawns in a game they never agreed to play. August 31st, 1997. While you were sleeping, a phone rang in South Africa. On the other end, Charles Spencer, Diana's younger brother. The voice was calm, too calm. Your sister has been in an accident. It's serious. Now, here's what most people don't know, and this detail is crucial. Spencer knew immediately what had happened. Not because of the accident itself, but because he'd been warning Diana for years about the paparazzi. She'd called him crying, telling him they wouldn't leave her alone, that she felt hunted, that nobody was protecting her. And now, his worst nightmare was coming true. The second phone call came an hour later, but what Spencer didn't know yet was that his sister's death was about to trigger the biggest crisis the British monarchy had faced in decades, and he was about to become the man who would expose it all. Here's where it gets strange. While millions cried in the streets, Buckingham Palace went dark. No statement, no flag at half-mast, no acknowledgement that the people's princess had just died. For 5 days, the royal family said nothing. Can you imagine? The most photographed woman in the world dies tragically, and the institution she married into just stays quiet. Drop a comment right now. Do you think they were in shock, or was this something else? Because here's what was really happening behind closed doors. Wait. Before I tell you what happened next, you need to understand something about Charles Spencer. This wasn't just Diana's brother. This was the man who grew up watching her transform from a happy 19-year-old girl into someone trapped, isolated, and desperate for an escape. He'd seen the system break her. And now that system wanted something from her sons, something that would haunt Harry for the next 25 years. September 2nd, 1997, 3 days after Diana's death, Spencer receives a call from a Buckingham Palace courtier. They're discussing funeral arrangements. Everything seems formal, procedural. Then the courtier mentions, almost casually, the boys will walk in the procession, of course. Spencer's response was immediate. Absolutely not. Now listen carefully to what he said next. Because this moment defines everything. She would never have wanted this. They're children. You cannot parade them in front of cameras while they're grieving. The palace response? Cold, clinical. It has already been decided. Spencer fought. He pushed back. He argued that it was cruel, unnatural, and completely unnecessary. But here's the manipulation, and this is critical. They told him the boys wanted to do it. Think about that for a second. A 12-year-old and a 15-year-old who just lost their mother days ago supposedly asked to walk behind her coffin in front of 2.5 billion people? Spencer believed them. Why wouldn't he? These were officials representing the crown, so he stepped aside thinking he was honoring his nephew's wishes. But years later, Harry revealed the truth in an interview. And when you hear what he said, everything clicks into place. We were never asked, we were told. They were told. A 12-year-old boy was given an order, and he followed it because that's what you do in that system. You obey. Pause the video for a second and think about your own childhood. At 12 years old, could you have said no to the most powerful institution in Britain? Hit the like button if you think this was absolutely wrong. September 6th, 1997. The footage is burned into history. Two boys, faces pale, eyes down, walking behind a coffin draped with flowers, the crowd sobbing, cameras everywhere. Every step analyzed, every expression scrutinized. Spencer walked beside them, knowing he'd been deceived, knowing he'd failed to protect them. Harry later described it as feeling numb, like it was happening to someone else. His emotions had completely shut down. But here's the part that will destroy you. Harry said that in today's world, this would never be allowed to happen to grieving children. Times changed. largely because of his mother's influence on mental health awareness, but nobody fought hard enough to stop it back then. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but at least Spencer gave that powerful speech at the funeral. That counts for something, right? Oh, it counted for something, alright. That speech didn't just honor Diana, it declared war on the institution that destroyed her. And the royal family, they sat there, stone-faced, while the world applauded. Let me tell you what he said. Spencer stood at the podium. The world watched. Nobody knew what he was about to do. He called Diana the most hunted person of the modern age. Then he did something unprecedented. He blamed the institutions that failed to protect her. The media, yes. But also, the silence was deafening. The royal family. Then came the line that made headlines worldwide. He promised that Diana's blood family, not the Windsors, would protect and guide William and Harry. Read that again. He was essentially saying, you failed her. You won't get the chance to fail her sons. The response? Applause. Inside a royal funeral, people stood up and clapped. The Queen didn't move. Prince Charles showed no reaction, but everyone else heard exactly what Spencer was saying. Here's the heartbreaking truth. Spencer later admitted he couldn't keep that promise. William and Harry were already too embedded in the royal system. He had no legal power to remove them. The monarchy controlled their future, but that promise, it planted a seed that would grow for 23 years until Harry finally did what his uncle couldn't. He walked away completely, and we're about to see how that story unfolds. You know what's wild? Spencer never stopped criticizing the royal family. Even years later, he kept speaking out about how they failed Diana. Most people would have moved on, made peace, played nice with the most powerful family in Britain. Not Spencer. He kept the pressure on. And guess who was watching? Guess who was taking notes? Harry. Fast forward to 2016. Harry meets Meghan Markle, and almost immediately, the pattern begins again. Negative headlines, attacks from within the palace, a lack of protection and support. Harry saw it happening in real time. The same hunting his mother endured, the same institutional coldness, the same refusal to shield someone who needed help. In one interview, Harry said something that should make your blood run cold. History was repeating itself. My mother was chased to her death while she was in a relationship with someone that wasn't white. And now, look what's happened. It's incredibly triggering to potentially lose another woman in my life. That's when he made the decision. Unlike his mother, who tried to break free but never fully escaped, Harry had the power to leave, and the knowledge of what happens if you stay. January 2020, Harry and Meghan announced they're stepping back from royal duties. By March, they'd moved to the United States, cutting official ties with the institution. The media called it a crisis, a betrayal, an abandonment of duty. But here's what it really was. A man refusing to let the system that killed his mother destroy his wife too. Harry wasn't rebelling, he was surviving. And Charles Spencer, the man who'd fought to protect Diana and failed, he quietly supported Harry's decision, because Spencer understood something the rest of the world was still learning. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from a system that demands you sacrifice yourself to keep it alive. So let's connect all the dots. Diana was failed by an institution that valued image over humanity. Spencer tried to protect her sons from the same fate and was deceived. That deception led to a traumatic moment that haunted Harry for decades. When history started repeating with Meghan, Harry did what nobody else could. He left. This isn't just a story about a funeral. It's about power, that control, and the cost of staying silent. Spencer's fight wasn't in vain. He couldn't save Diana. He couldn't stop William and Harry from walking behind that coffin. But his words, his refusal to stay quiet, gave Harry permission to break free. The royal institution is still standing, but it lost Harry, and it lost him for the exact reason Spencer warned about 27 years ago. Some patterns repeat, but sometimes someone finally breaks the cycle. If this story changed your perspective on Diana, Harry, or the royal family, smash that like button and subscribe for more untold stories. And here's my question for you. Do you think Harry made the right choice? Or should he have stayed and tried to change the system from within? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. Thanks for watching. And remember, the truth is always more complicated than the headlines.